What's happening, everybody? So here's where we're at. I did make a video of me gluing the sides in, but the phone that the video was on was involved in an industrial accident, and there was no salvaging anything from that phone. So I lost that video, but it really was pretty uneventful. I wasn't sure where I was going to end up with the sides in relation to the neck through. So what I didn't want to do is have to take this and bend it way in. So I left space in here for a tail block. And I figured that space was going to be between 1/4 and 3/4 of an inch thick. And that was depending on where the side of the guitar, here, this is it. This is one of the cutoffs here. So it was either going to end like here, or it was going to end here. And I didn't know how much spring I was going to have here, and I don't want to form a side and then distort that shape, because it really makes the rest of the body move a lot. You guys saw that in the other video where, you know, just bending this a little bit was moving this a lot. And I don't want to change it. This is modeled after I don't know if I can say the name of it for copyright purposes, but it rhymes with Bamaha. It's modeled after one of their dreadnoughts, and it's a 26-inch scale length. So it's really a big guitar. But anyway, I did want to have a tail block in here because I didn't want the butt of the guitar to be strong only in this 2 1/4 inch width here. Because, you know, when you're playing it, you're setting it down on the butt, you know, pretty often. So that's kind of a point that you got to have something in there. So I made the tail block. That's about 5/16 of an inch right there. So right in that range where I had planned for it to be. So I extended that out this way and this way to give the guitar more strength across the butt of the guitar right here. Here are the 2 notches where the sides come in to the neck through. So I have to cut some glue blocks, one here to, you know, to reinforce this joint right here. They're really solid right now, and I don't think that this is ever going to take a lot of stress. It's going to get the kerf lining in here, but I think I'm going to put a full length brace right here and a full length not brace, you know, a glue block. I'll put one here and one here just to strengthen that up, although I'm not sure that it's absolutely necessary. This is a giant guitar, man. I was calling this the cello. Let me flip the camera around and give you guys a better look at it. All right, so I was calling it the canoe until I took the sides down. When I made these sides, they were about 1 1/8 inches wider than they needed to be, which was overkill. I didn't know how accurately I was going to be able to get the sides straight with the neck through. In other words, if this brace was in the form ever so slightly this way or this way, if it wasn't perfectly 90 degrees in that form, then I would have had to make it straight by cutting nothing off here, and then the cut would get wider and wider until I got all the way to here. I left 1 1/8 inches, which it was definitely overkill. It was easier to get this in the form pretty much as straight as I needed it to be without having all that extra wood to cut off. That's how much, oops, show you guys, this is how much I had to cut off. This was my largest one there. So I just want to round it with a coping saw. How I determined the height on this cut, when I made the cut, you could see the difference in thickness. I'm losing everything here. You see the difference in thickness between this side of it here and this side of it here. So this was my worst piece, right? So that's about, that's probably, the cut's like a 1/4 inch different, but I mean, I kind of hacked it away with a coping saw. In reality, I think it was maybe 1/8 of an inch different on one side than on the other side, according to the line. So I hacked it off with a coping saw, and then I brought it down to the line with a block plane. So that came out really good. I definitely, next time, will not make the sides that much too wide. Maybe 1/2 inch would be plenty. 1 inch and 1/8 was just overkill. But I think if I had made them an extra 1/2 inch, that would have been plenty. And don't forget, the guitar is fatter on this side than it is on the side by 1/2 inch. So even if I made it 1/2 inch wide, that's 1/4 and 1/4, and you know, and 1/2 and 1/2. Now it's still an extra 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch over on this side. It's still a lot, but I don't think there's an easy way to do this. I know somebody makes a template that's got kind of a wave in it, and you cut your side according to that template, but if your side is not perfectly in that form, that template is useless. So a little bit of overkill. This is how big the guitar is. It's big. It's awkward. I'm used to playing solid body guitars. So this is going to be my fretboard. It doesn't have a radius yet. The neck is still like a D-shaped neck. So I have to take away these 2 corners here. And I'll do that like with the shoe shine technique with the sandpaper, to bring this from a D shape, to a softer C shape, to take these corners down a little bit. When I put the fretboard on there, it definitely feels chunkier than I want it to feel. I'll have to cut the neck for the truss rod, which that'll be an easy cut. I mean, it's a laminated neck, so it should be easy to follow the center of that. I'm really not worried about anything else at this point. The next thing I got to do is I got to cut the arch into this, and after I cut the arch into this, then I will sit it on my lap and see how it feels. I don't play like a classical player. Like, I don't play like this. I play like everybody else plays, like this. And that puts my arm at the fattest, biggest part of the guitar. So it feels just a little bit awkward. But when I cut the sides, when I cut these off, it felt way better. Before I cut these off, it just felt like it was an unplayable instrument. Now it's starting to feel like it's more of a guitar, and because I don't have the arch cut into this yet, when I cut this off, I cut a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch off of here, and I put it back on my lap like this, and I thought, wow, what a huge difference that made. When I cut the arch into this guitar, it's going to be full thickness here and full thickness here, but that arch is going to go downhill and downhill this way. So that's going to thin this out another, 5/16 here and 5/16 here. That's 5/8 of an inch that I'm going to lose off of the thickest part of the guitar here and the thickest part of the guitar here. So it should make it feel even more comfortable. If I do that and I still feel like it's awkward and uncomfortable, I will put a bevel in here. I don't know if you guys have seen them where some of the dreadnoughts have to have this bevel right here, and you just get a big piece of maple and you put it in here, like, right in here, and then you cut this on a 45-degree angle so it goes from nothing, and then it gets wider, and then it tapers back down to nothing. And that gives you that, it takes it back like another 3/4 of an inch right there. So that's kind of a lot. I mean, it doesn't have to be 3/4. It could be whatever you want it to be. But the binding starts to look a little odd the wider you make this relief cut. So I got some planning to do with that if I need to do it, because it is starting to feel more natural like this. But that's where we're at. I thought I'd share that with you guys. Next, I'm going to do bracing. I'm not sure if I'm going to pre-shape the bracing first and then take the sides down to the bracing, or if I'm going to cut the bracing square and then take the bracing and the sides down together. I'm not sure about which way I'm going to go with that next step. I'm going to think about that for a couple days, but there it is, man. It's looking pretty sexy, I think. I'll put one of those wedge cuts in there. That cut, it's not that beautiful. They're smooth. I can't feel anything on there, but that butt joint did not come out as beautiful as I wanted it to. Probably because I used this right here, and this is not the right saw to do that. It is super flexible. I probably should have invested in one of those Chinese flat saws. I forget what they're called. I think it's a jam saw. But this guy here, this is a pull saw. So it only works on the pull, and it was the wrong tool for the job. Let me just put it that way. I would have been better using my coping saw or a jigsaw. I would have got a better joint out of it. But what I didn't want to do is take any more of this length. In other words, I didn't want to take and make this a perfect joint, because I'd have to take a little more off of this one and a little more off of this one, which is going to pull the body in just a little bit. But if you guys saw the other video where I showed how changing this over here moves the waist a lot. A little bit of movement here changes this a lot here. And I don't want to lose the proportion of, the big side to the small side. I don't want to change the overall shape of it. So, that will disappear when I put that wedge on there. I'm also starting to think about the rosette that I'm going to have to do. And I'm thinking about what am I going to use for the top. I've got some really nice walnut over here. And, I keep saying I want this to be a big, boomy, bassy guitar. And walnut seems like it might be the best choice for that. But it's not a very resonant wood like spruce. But I think having a big, giant arch top, you know, is almost a jazz guitar with a spruce top, with a 26-inch scale length, with a spruce top. I'm afraid it's gonna. I'm afraid it's gonna make the guitar sound a lot thinner, tinnier than I want it to. So I'll have to do a little bit more research on that before I make a final decision on that. But everything else, all the bracing will all be maple. The kerf lining will all be maple. The braces for the sides will be maple. I have no cupping at all in the sides. I was afraid that the sides were going to get a bad cup to them, which I might have a piece over here. Let's see. No. I don't have a. I do have a piece, but they're so small. Here's one. Here's a piece. And look, this is the cutoff from the side, and I thought it was going to go like this. You know, like over in here. It's definitely not perfectly flat. I'm going to try to get this on video here. Yeah, you could see it, right? You see that little bend in it right there, and a little bit of a high spot. It's very hard to see because it's very, very subtle. But I have plenty of thickness here that I can sand this flat. It feels great here. It feels great here. I got a little bit of a high spot, I think, there. When you run your hand around it, you'll feel it. So I definitely got to flatten this out a little bit, but not till after I put first I'll glue the bracing on, and I'll clamp the bracing in place, and then we'll see if that flattens it out. It didn't do like this, like I thought it would. I thought it was going to go like this, but instead what I got is I got like a little bit of a high there, and then like a little bit of a low there. Not nearly, that's greatly exaggerated. And I just put a straight edge on there. That's what it looks like. And that's going to be pretty much around the whole body. I think this part right here is the worst. The deepest part, I can definitely feel it. And I can get a little bit of light through there. But it's nothing major. It can just, I can sand that with either a block or even with my orbital sander, and it'll flatten right out, no problem. But I won't do that till after I brace the sides. We'll see if that changes the shape any. I think that's all I got for this vid. So a little bit of research to do for me, and then I'll be back after I do some bracing and maybe have the back of the guitar glued up. That's all I got for now, guys. Peace.